Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from ViVE 2026 in sunny LA. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 36 hours since I landed. The prominence of this specific show grows every year, and I feel very fortunate to be able to broadcast annually from this event. Rich Scarfo and the entire health team are extremely supportive, and I'm tremendously grateful. I also want to make a special note of thanks to Roberta Mullen and Jake Reed for their support in helping you produce these ViVE broadcasts and recordings each year. They are terrific. This is actually my 12th year broadcasting live from a healthcare industry conference, and they helped make it my best year yet. So grateful for them and certainly my amazing guests. For today, though, I have a fantastic lineup of CEOs, CIOs, care providers, innovators, policy leaders, and visionary. If you miss any of this broadcast, all my shows are from This Just In Radio are posted at Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Speaker, and the TuneIn platforms. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My goal, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies not only to survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all of these changes occurring across healthcare. There is more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of that over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from ViVE 2026 in sunny LA. Very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, Dr. Nick Patel, CEO, founder of Stealth Consulting. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Great to be here.
Fantastic. So, how long have you been in town?
Got in late last night, and I have to make some changes in my flight because can't go back to New York right now.
No. Is that where you live full time?
No, I had a meeting there, so that got canceled. So now, luckily,
you're in South Carolina, aren't you?
I'm in South Carolina. Yeah.
Columbia.
Yeah. Rare that we get snow, but we actually got snow this year. Yeah. So it's beautiful, but luckily for us, it didn't freeze over and it went away in 24 hours.
No, this was tough. I mean, just having you on the show earlier, and tough people coming from the East Coast, but thankfully, I think most of the people that at least I've been meeting with and on panels have been they're here, and thankfully they got here. They came in for the storm, or they're finding a way to make their way here.
Exactly.
So, what are you most excited about seeing in the industry today?
Well, you know what, I'm really excited. I think we're at this precipice of a major change in healthcare, where we're starting to see optimized EHRs. We're now looking into AI agents and automation to really help with the workflow efficiency. And if you look back, even since the High-Tech Act, there hasn't been a lot of change when it comes to overall fundamental change in how we do business in healthcare. But we're about to see a major change in how patients interact, how providers see their patients, how operationally we set up our organization, how we partner. And obviously, as you've seen, the payer system continuously changes and challenges us. And so we really have to be on top of this. But I think the biggest catalyst, honestly, is that we're finally seeing a major change in leadership. We're starting to see the next generational C-suite come in now that is now going to look at this more progressive, more open-minded, out-of-box thinkers. I'm not to say anything was wrong with the traditional people that we had. Great folks, but it's a different time now.
Another person's in your seat just a moment ago, Chris Paravate from Northeast Georgia, CIO. Extremely progressive, moving a system forward, wants to be the dominant player in the area. I mean, that kind of just that confidence and the strategy and the ability, and it's just cool to see.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree. Those people are absolutely rising up.
Well, the population continues to grow. Access is still a major choke point for everyone. Even your own health system providers, your own team members have struggles to get seen by their own health system. That should tell you a lot. And, we have to do something about this whole issue with access. Otherwise, we're going to still have the broken system of people going to the ED for things that could have been avoidable.
Yeah, when I asked Chris, and I'll ask you the same thing, but I said, what are you most passionate about that you're currently working on? He said, you know what, it's probably not sound not too passionate, but my ambulatory strategy. We're going to retreat next week, talking about the ambulatory strategy. I personally love that. I love the 90+% of care is provided in the ambulatory setting. And I mean, that's what we as consumers usually see when we come across them. That's what we need. Yep. So I love it. But I'll ask you the same question. I know you're like mine in that regard, but what are you working on that you're most passionate about personally?
Yeah, so I work with a few health systems as a fractional executive and work on a few things. One, ambulatory strategy is actually top of mind for many, many of those folks.
That's great.
And where the challenge, though, is that you have to have a clear strategy that's not only operational, but also clinical. So that's one, and I can dive a little deeper into that. But the other thing is how do we actually bring joy back into work life? Right. That I would say is also because we're losing providers. Workforce shortage is a real thing, and we're losing nursing, we're using providers. There's, I believe they said 80,000 doctors in shortage by 2030 for primary care alone. Wow. So if you got third parties hiring physicians, you have nurses hiring, third parties hiring, there's only a few to go around. It's not like you can turn a spigot and turn nurses and doctors out overnight.
Right.
And so, that's one of the things that I'm really working on is the synchronization between how do we keep our workforce happy and retain them and make them happy and keep them here, but also how do we actually grow our ambulatory stance, which is one of the biggest challenges we have, primary care.
So I've actually never quite asked you what you do because my show's always about thought leadership and strategy, but tell me about Stealth Consulting real quick.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I was with Prisma Health for over 2 decades, various leadership roles. I'm a physician, practiced as a hospitalist and primary care physician over 2 decades. I was a CMIO and eventually became the Chief Digital Officer. I left there almost after 22 years, and I have my own company called Stealth Consulting. And I love the organization. I just wanted to do something different. And so now I get to talk to other health systems around the country around strategy, and then work with health tech companies, various health tech companies, and also private equity. I'm an operating partner at Concord Health Partners that has multiple health system LPs and a lot of health health tech companies that we invest in that are really trying to move the needle in behavioral health and telehealth and payment reform and other things like that. So it's really nice being able to have a meeting with a health system, then a company who is Series B or C looking at growth phase and helping with thought leadership and commercialization, and then talking about investors on thesis of where we should be investing our money, where the M&A needs to happen, and et cetera. So that's my day.
No, I know our worlds cross in lots of different ways, and that's kind of how my world is set up. I have my radio show, my thought leadership, and I help build software companies, but then also I do my radio show, and then I also do advisement to companies on go-to-market with health systems primarily, but a lot of also ambulatory practices as well. And so it's kind of it's compartmentalized, and I love the fact that we never have a boring day. We still have lots of problems for lots of different people, and lots of different verticals, and it keeps us going. But I know we have a lot of worlds in common.
Yeah, well, we're making impact, and at the end of the day is what we want. I think a lot of times, sometimes when you get in a rigor or work in one place, you kind of spinning your wheels, but we're actually moving forward, building those tracks.
You got it.
Yep.
What are your goals for ViVE 2026 this year?
Yeah, one of the things meeting a lot with my clients, both on the health tech side, but also with my health system clients. With my health system executives, mostly work with C-suites. They're here to learn about new technologies, but also make those connections with companies that will help them both operationally and meet their clinical needs. And so I'm here to connect the dots between and try to remove the noise between who you should be looking at least from a thematic perspective, and then have the health system go through the RFI process on the selection side. But at least to get to see what's a realm of possibility. But it's also not only looking at what's in the future, but what can we get rid of? What do we clean out of the garage and consolidate so we don't need to add 20 different tools anymore because the technology has advanced so much. That's one. The second piece is really to make connections, meet people, listen and learn from others. I think that's one thing that we don't do enough is we tell, but we don't listen.
Right.
And
and also thought leaders, it's really important for us because we do a lot of talking. It's really important for us to continue to always do listening.
Absolutely. And we learn from each other. I learn a lot from you. I learned from our friend Rasu and others that you're interviewing. And that's what it's about. It's at the end, all of us at one point in our lives are going to need access to healthcare, and we're all working towards what kind of experience that will be for us.
Absolutely. So final question, and it'll be a tough one. Looking into the proverbial crystal ball, what do you think is a strategy or trend that we need to be ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now? We're not thinking about.
I think the biggest thing is we need to stop thinking as unified, like instead of individual health systems and practices to one of a unified health system and have systemness and integration. And it's seems like everyone should be doing that and everyone knows that, but it's very poorly executed or rarely seen. One of the things that we are seeing a major trend is setting up air traffic control for health systems. So imagine a 20 health system organization. Well, all those health systems in there, and they don't always communicate real time. You don't know throughput. You know what's going on in census data. And so having an air traffic control, a true command center that actually has both the connection of different personas that are looking at, hey, there's a high-risk patient in room 5. Let's get care coordination involved. Let's get pharmacy involved virtually into the room, right? And then let's call the family in virtually through a link and have a secure conversation. Let's bring the hospitalists in. And having a true air traffic control, just like you traveled here, right? What happens? We're going to take the seatbelt sign off right now. It's going to be a smooth ride. But hey, guys, we're going to meet some turbulence in about an hour. I'm going to turn it back on. Why do they know that? Right. They know that because there's 5 planes that went in that same path before them, and they report that back. We don't get that sort of level of real-time alert and insights in the health system. And having an air traffic control, I've talked to multiple health systems that are looking into this now. I think you're going to start to see more of that sort of air traffic towers across the country that are helping navigate people and health systems, both internally and externally, get the care they need.
I love it. I could see how that would tremendously benefit a community right out of the gate.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the hope anyway. I do think this Rural Health Transformation Fund is going to be a real good lifeline to help navigate some of that and those investments. But again, I hope that it's being used for meaningful things and not pie in the sky things. Because this community hospital, I'm really concerned of the number of hospitals that have a high risk of closure.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah. Dr. Nick Patel, I appreciate your time, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Justin. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from ViVE 2026 in sunny LA. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, Dr. Ashwini Davison, CMIO of Oncology for AWS. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Davison.
Thanks so much, Justin. Yeah, so good to be here with you and everyone else at ViVE in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I just got off a call here a moment ago, and well, first of all, everybody I speak with back on the East Coast and around the country says, how's the conference going? And I said, this conference is full of basically decision makers, but also if you're a key executive in the industry, you're here. It's a very target-rich environment for getting work done, strategy done, thought leadership done, and really engaging people who are making tangible difference in healthcare today.
Agreed, Justin. With the CIOs and the executives that we've been meeting with so far, I think that events like this and what ViVE's been able to do is get everyone together at this time of rapid technology advancements in healthcare, because we're all upskilling together, right, with agentic AI and all of the potential that it holds. Absolutely. So thrilled to be here with everyone.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, what are you most excited about seeing in the industry today? What progress are you most excited about seeing today?
Great question. So this morning at ViVE, it was great to be on a panel focused on unified, personalized cancer care. And I was alongside Dr. Caroline Chung from MD Anderson, Simon Nazarian from City of Hope. So 2 NCI designated cancer centers, Absolutely. Right? And we were talking about the rising rates of cancer diagnoses and the new patients that are generating more data. And yet we have a data problem when it comes to cancer care and research. So what I'm most excited about, at AWS, we've really focused on supporting startups, pharma, life sciences, and health systems with data strategy. And I think that there's no more compelling of a use case than cancer.
Yeah, no, well, it's absolutely true. I mean, I think you know this on the side. I've kind of dedicated 2026 to cancer innovation, a little bit of research, but also the optimistic message that technology and innovation is bringing to cancer care here in America. I'm sure we'll make it more global as time permits and goes on, but it's extremely exciting for what you guys are doing at AWS, but also what the Care Center, what Moffitt's doing. I love what Moffitt's doing, what Cancer X is doing. I know it's not one of my questions, but I guess you've been instrumental from Cancer X and with Cancer X since the beginning. So share a little bit of your thoughts there about Cancer X and the opportunity there.
Well, first, Justin, I'm so thrilled that, when we spoke at HIMSS last year, we were talking about the multimodal problem with. So first of all, Justin, kudos to you on starting that additional series that's dedicated to oncology and cancer care. This month, was World Cancer Day in February, but it needs to be a year-round conversation, and folks like you and venues like this at ViVE are making that happen. I'm proud to be a part of the CancerX Steering Committee. It's really the leaders in digital innovation for cancer care, and we're trying to support this ecosystem that's very much necessary to move the needle. So I was speaking with Rasu Shrestha, who I know you know well as well, EVP for Innovation at Advocate,
Yep.
and then Xavier Avat, who is also shepherding all of this work with CancerX from Moffitt Cancer Center. And I think that together we can all tackle this problem because there's not just one problem when it comes to cancer care.
Right.
There are many.
Yeah, and we're going to make it a year-round discussion, certainly here at the This Justin Radio Show. It's exciting. It's very important, to your point. We don't want it to just be one day. We want it to be every day. So I'm going to certainly do my part there. What are you seeing from a healthcare and digital health trends? And obviously in the panel this morning, you're part of a fantastic oncology panel here at ViVE. But what are you seeing as trends in the area of cancer care in healthcare in America?
Right. So one particular area where I think we should spend some time, Justin, is talking about the challenges with workforce burnout. Mm-hmm. We have a supply and demand issue, right? According to National Cancer Institute, every 30 seconds a patient in the United States is, let's say, getting a diagnosis of cancer, and yet we don't have the staffing that's needed, and burnout is increasing. So I think one particular startup that I find very promising is Wrapped Health. Mm-hmm. And actually, the leadership at Wrapped Health, they used to be our colleagues at AWS. Absolutely. And what they've done is they've tackled a very specific and important problem in cancer care. Nationwide, 15% of appointments at infusion centers where patients with cancer go to get their medication, 15% of those appointments are missed.
Right.
That's not only a challenge when you talk about delivering medication to patients who need it, right, but for the health systems, those infusion centers, that's an empty chair.
Absolutely. It's lost revenue.
Yes. Yeah. And we want to keep those, systems going. So what Wrapped Health has done is they've developed a software as a service solution on AWS native services. And in one deployment in California, they were able to reduce the no-show, rate for infusion centers from 17% to 5% in just 3 months. Wow. So Wrapped Health is the type of startup that I really think can make an impact. Mm-hmm. Because they're using AI, Justin. They're using the different factors that drive a missed appointment to maybe nudge the patient or help communicate with them utilizing Amazon Connect for patient engagement. So I think that's something that I find promising and definitely an organization to keep following.
Well, that also feeds into my next question. What are a few best practices, using AI and agentic AI to meet the patient where they are and really bring them along in their care journey? But what are a few best practices that you've seen out there that you would like to share to help others navigate these trends?
Yeah, great question. And Justin, actually at HIMSS, I will be joined by Rasu Shrestha from Advocate Health, as well as Rami Mejio from the SVP from Illumina. Mm-hmm. And we are having an executive track conversation about agentic AI and how to help it, and we'll be having a conversation about agentic AI and how it can revolutionize cancer care. As far as best practices, before we get to that workflow optimization and those improvements, data readiness has to be at the foundation. And so that's where at AWS, we've really focused a lot on making sure that organizations can be AI ready. And that means not having your data in silos, right? It means getting the data out of those source systems, harmonizing it. And once you have that AI-ready data foundation, then the sky's the limit when it comes to agentic workflows for augmenting, the workforce and improving care for patients.
I love it. And you touched on that at last year's HIMSS, which is now coming up in a couple of weeks. But just so you know, that specific discussion basically correlated with what I've been thinking for, it was 20 years ago when I was building a software company. We felt like we had so much data, even 20 years ago, 15 years ago, we had enough data stored in silos that we actually could cure cancer. We just use it as an anecdote if we just unleash that data and unleash all that siloed information. We're slowly doing that with interoperability. And that's actually where this whole cancer series came from, because then I got so excited last year at HLTH conference where Kamal and Nanish and Dr. Jithwani and Dr. Parikh and I had a great conversation debating how far along we are in cancer evolution and curing cancer. Because I do believe if we can create the interoperability that you spoke about that a year ago, but if we, and you continue to speak about it, if we can actually continue to harness that, unleash that data, create that essential interoperability. You brought up FHIR interoperability on your panel this morning. My next guest is going to be one of the founders of FHIR. So we need to keep all going down that path. But I do believe in my heart, uneducated, much more uneducated than you, because you're an expert in this area. But I believe that we have enough data stored in silos that we can begin to cure cancer at a much faster rate if we can unleash that data. But I'd love you to share your thoughts on that.
Agreed, Justin. Okay. It's not a issue of not having the data. Yeah. And in cancer, the reason that it's such an important space for us to all be leaning into is the average cancer patient might be generating 1,000 to 10,000 more data elements in a year than a patient with just diabetes or just hypertension. We know that the volumes of those patients, there are more patients with diabetes and hypertension, but you're right. If it's in fragmented, siloed systems, it becomes a challenge. And that's why AWS HealthLake, with its support for FHIR as a standard, is going to be so helpful for the new Pediatric Care Expansion Program, a $50 billion ARPA-H-funded initiative. We're really glad to be helping 197 pediatric sites, part of the Children's Oncology Group and Children's Brain Tumor Network, on board so that data can get out of the source systems for children at the time of diagnosis and in near real time get into AWS HealthLake and be harmonized and utilized for decision making by the clinicians and researchers who can help those children when every second counts.
Yeah, and that's children, they're our future. So let's focus more energy there. And you had a great stat in closing, we have 30 seconds left. What we have not changed the rate that children, their lifespan of children in the last 60 years, 9 months. Give us 20 seconds on that stat, please.
Right. So DIPG is an example, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. 60 plus years ago, Neil Armstrong's daughter died of DIPG. And yet today, even with all of our advancements, life expectancy is 9 months after diagnosis for a child. We have to do better. But in order to do better, we have to get that data to be able to identify, for this rarer condition, what those patterns are historically. And so for examples like that, we're thrilled to be supporting initiatives like the Children's Brain Tumor Network and Pediatric Care Expansion.
Love it. Dr. Davison, thank you so much for making time as always.
Thank you for bringing attention to these important topics, Justin.
Take care. And that's a wrap from sunny LA. Want to offer a note of gratitude to all my dedicated partners, certainly AMD and AWS, as they are great partners for the weekly syndicated This Just In Radio show. And certainly many thanks to everyone that voted us 2024 Podcast of the Year. We're grateful for you. And thank you so much to Roberta Mullen from Healthcare Now Radio for producing my show and broadcasting it for the last 12 years. And certainly, as I mentioned, my show partners, AMD and AWS, for all of their continued support. And certainly to Rich Scarfo and the entire health team for this opportunity to broadcast live from ViVE 2026 here in sunny Las Vegas. And again, a big thank you to all my listeners and supporters that voted us Podcast of the Year last year. Please tune in weekdays as the show broadcasts 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin T. Barnes or track me on Twitter at HAT Advisor and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so you can respond to some comments from this show. And you can check all my podcasts and radio shows wherever you find your music on a regular basis. And certainly check out our thought leadership page at justinbarnes.com as we keep that updated with all of our latest thought leadership. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.